Well, hello there. Thanks for joining us at S Historia. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of the past, be sure to follow our channel to catch this video and, all the exciting stories we have coming up in the future. Unlike many other ancient Egyptian tombs, King Tutankhamun's burial place stayed hidden and untouched by looters for 3,000 years. One reason was that it was smaller than average and tucked away in the Valley of the Kings. By the time Tutankhamun's tomb was discovered, the area had already been thoroughly explored. Its entrance had been completely covered with rubble from the construction of a nearby tomb, which probably helped keep it hidden. There were no inscriptions or markings on the outside to give away what was inside. Time itself also played a role in preserving it so well until the 1920s, when a man named Howard Carter finally gained entry. But was Carter really the great hero people thought? Some recent findings suggest he might have been more cunning than originally believed. For years, people saw Carter not just as a treasure hunter, but as a serious archaeologist. Long before finding Tutankhamun's tomb, he was on an intense quest for Egyptian artifacts, a passion that began when he was a child making sketches of carvings and inscriptions from ancient tombs. After discovering Tutankhamun's remains, Carter spent a decade documenting and carefully transporting treasures like golden thrones, chariots and statues from the tomb to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Or at least, that was the official story. New evidence suggests not everything made it to Egyptian authorities. One piece of evidence is a secret note revealing Carter's 10 for them, 1 for me rule. This message, sent in 1922 to Carter's friend and linguist Sir Alan Gardner, hinted at this practice. Another letter from 1934 shows Gardner thanking Carter for a protective amulet that Carter insisted didn't come from Tut's tomb, though it clearly did. The British director of the Egyptian Museum even suspected Carter's tricks, but couldn't prove it. Comparing the amulet with others from the tomb proved it was a perfect match. Disappointed but loyal, Gardner advised Carter to return the stolen item to Cairo. In 1947, another man named Alfred Lucas, who had worked with Carter, claimed in a Cairo magazine that Carter had secretly opened the burial chamber before the official unveiling, likely to take certain items in advance. The theory suggests Carter and his team removed valuables early, then sold them quietly years later. The Egyptian government eventually banned him from the tomb for a time to prevent further losses. Some linked these thefts to the so-called Curse of the Pharaoh. The legend claimed that anyone who disturbed the boy king's tomb would face terrible misfortune. The most famous victim was George Herbert, the 5th Earl of Carnarvon, who financed the excavation. He died in 1923, a year after the tomb was opened, but in truth he was already in poor health before arriving in Cairo and succumbed to a common illness. In reality, many people involved in the dig lived for decades afterward. Carter himself lived until 1939, 16 years after the discovery. The curse may... As for what was stolen, well, some missing jewellery may have been taken by Carter himself. A French expert actually compared photographs from the 1920s, taken inside the tomb, with artifacts found in museums and auction houses, and managed to identify matching pieces. For example, a collar that once lay on Tutankhamun's chest was broken apart. Some pieces ended up in the Nelson Atkins Museum in Missouri, while others turned up in a necklace offered for sale back in 2015. Beads from Tut's headpiece even showed up in a necklace that's now in the St. Louis Art Museum. A luxurious faience collar, believe it or not, made its way to the Metropolitan Museum in New York before being returned to Egypt over a decade ago. Despite these missing treasures, Tutankhamun's tomb still offered incredible insights into ancient Egypt. From his famous golden burial mask, inlaid with semi-precious stones, to 4 ornate board games, a pair of golden sandals, a clothing mannequin, and even 2 fragile trumpets that were played live on the radio in 1939. Interestingly, the mask itself may not have been made for Tut at all. Small holes on its ears suggest it was originally meant for a woman or a child of high status, since adult male pharaohs didn't wear earrings. Some researchers believe the mask may have been intended for Queen Nefertiti, possibly adapted for Tut after his sudden death. The tomb's layout also raises questions. It was smaller and oddly shaped for a pharaoh, and its orientation actually matches those used for queens. Some experts think Tut's burial chamber was originally part of a larger tomb belonging to Nefertiti, with hidden sealed-off rooms still undiscovered. Although radar scans in 2015 initially suggested there might be hidden chambers, later tests found no evidence. The true story of Tutankhamun's burial, and whether Nefertiti still lies hidden nearby, remains one of Egypt's enduring mysteries. The statue is said to represent Queen Cleopatra II, but many archaeologists argue the facial features just don't match. They believe it might actually depict a princess instead. Some people think the famous phrase, "No man will ever find my tomb," has been misunderstood. Even if Cleopatra said it, she may have meant no living soul. Not literally no male person. It could simply be a poetic legend. For over 3,000 years, the golden mask of Pharaoh Tutankhamun lay hidden in the Valley of the Kings. This 21-inch masterpiece really shows just how skilled and artistic the ancient Egyptians were. No one expected X-rays to reveal its biggest secret. Tutankhamun was the last ruler of his family in the 18th dynasty. He became king at just 9 years old and ruled for only 10 years before dying unexpectedly. In ancient Egypt, later rulers mostly forgot about him. His tomb seemed so unimportant that even grave robbers ignored it. That neglect, as it turns out, was a blessing. While other tombs in the Valley of the Kings were looted, Tutankhamun's remained sealed and untouched. When it was finally discovered in 1922, it contained over 5,000 priceless artifacts, instantly making the young pharaoh one of the most famous rulers in history. The most breathtaking of these treasures was his golden burial mask. It was meant to be an accurate portrait of the king's face so his soul could recognize him in the afterlife and return to his mummified body. The mask's fine details were clearly difficult to create, but people didn't realize just how complex it was until decades later. The first X-rays were taken in 1967, mainly to document its condition before it travelled to Paris for an exhibition. In 2007, new scans revealed that the mask wasn't pure 24-karat gold. It was made of 23-karat gold, mixed with a small amount of copper. The copper likely made the metal softer and easier to shape. Ancient craftsmen heated and hammered the gold sheets over and over again to form the mask. Another secret came to light in 2015. While museum staff in Cairo were handling the mask, the long golden beard accidentally came loose. Inside it was a hollow gold tube, a clever device ancient Egyptians probably used to attach the beard securely to the mask, yet another sign of their remarkable craftsmanship. But the mysteries didn't stop there. Many experts now believe the mask wasn't originally made for Tutankhamun at all. A 2015 study suggested it may have been created for a female pharaoh, possibly Nefertiti, his stepmother. The strongest clue came from the cartouche, or royal name, on the mask. Under Tutankhamun's name, faint traces of an earlier inscription appear to reference Nefertiti. There's another puzzling detail, the mask's pierced ears. Some scholars believe Tutankhamun, as an adult king, wouldn't have worn earrings, so the holes suggest the mask was first intended for a woman or a young royal. The tomb itself adds to the mystery. It's unusually small and simple for a pharaoh. Experts think Tutankhamun's burial may have been a last-minute arrangement, possibly because his intended larger tomb wasn't finished when he died at 18. Some believe his successor deliberately placed him in a modest tomb and reserved a grander one for himself. Even today, Egypt's ancient past keeps surprising us. Recently, archaeologists discovered the oldest and most complete mummy ever found in the country, around 4,300 years old, near the step pyramid of Djoser. The mummy was covered in gold and found among several tombs, including one belonging to a powerful official and another to a secret guardian who performed special rituals. They also uncovered the largest statues ever found in that area. One of history's most famous mummies is that of Hatshepsut, the queen who ruled Egypt for nearly 20 years. Her own tomb was found empty, but in 2006 researchers identified her remains by matching a single tooth in a labelled box to the jaw of an unidentified mummy. Ramses II, one of Egypt's greatest rulers, also became famous in death. His remarkably preserved mummy has given historians invaluable insights into life and power in ancient Egypt. Finally, thank you so much for listening and joining us on this journey. We'd love for you to follow S Historia and watch our future videos.